Admiral Taemin Park stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars through the big window. The ship was called Retribution's End, a name that reminded everyone the war was over. 15 years had passed since humans and the hegemony stopped fighting. 15 years since the galaxy said enough and forced everyone to shake hands and pretend to be friends. Taemin touched the scar on his left cheek. He got it during the Battle of Titan, when hegemony plasma bolts burned through his old ship's hull. Back then he was just a young captain. Now he was an admiral, and his job was to keep the peace. The same aliens who had killed his friends were now his allies in the Galactic Reconciliation Council. "Sir, we're getting a distress signal," said Lieutenant Boram at the communication station. Her voice was steady, but Taemin could hear the worry underneath. "Put it through," Taemin said. The message came through full of static and fear. "This is Kepler 442b mining colony. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. They're killing everyone. Oh God, The message cut off. Taemin's blood went cold. Kepler 442b was a human colony. Just miners and their families trying to make a living on a distant rock. "How far are we from Kepler 442b? 2 hours at maximum speed, sir," replied Navigator Kyung-ho. "Take us there now." Red alert. The Retribution's End jumped to hyperspace. Taemin paced the bridge, his mind racing. Who would attack a mining colony? The war was over. Everyone said so. The politicians, the news, the other alien races. They all kept saying how wonderful peace was. 2 hours felt like forever. When they dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler 442b, Taemin saw something that made his stomach turn. The colony was burning. Smoke rose from destroyed buildings. Ships floated dead in space, their hulls torn open. "Life signs?" Taemin asked. "Scanning now, sir," said Sensor Officer Minho. His face went pale. "Sir, I'm reading almost nothing. Maybe 1 or 2 survivors at most." Taemin closed his eyes for a moment. Hundreds of people had lived on that colony. Miners, engineers, teachers, children. Send out search teams. Find any survivors. The search teams found 1 person alive. Dr. Hyejin Choi, a scientist who studied alien plants and animals, was barely breathing inside a damaged shuttle. Her lab coat was burned, her face covered in cuts. But she was alive and she had something important with her. "Admiral," she whispered when they brought her to the medical bay, "I recorded everything. You need to see this." Taemin watched the recording in his private office. What he saw made him want to punch the wall. Hegemony soldiers in their familiar gray armor were walking through the colony. But they weren't just attacking, they were laughing. They shot down people running away. They killed children hiding behind their parents. One soldier even stopped to kick a body before moving on. This wasn't a battle. This wasn't even a raid. This was murder for fun. Dr. Hyejin had managed to keep recording even while she ran. The video showed hegemony officers giving orders to leave no witnesses and make sure the humans know their place. One officer even looked right at the camera and smiled before shooting at Dr. Hyejin. She only escaped because her shuttle's engines started just in time. Taemin called his superior, Fleet Commander Sora Kim. Sora had fought in the war too. She lost her husband and 2 sons when the hegemony attacked Earth's moon bases. Like Taemin, she was supposed to believe in peace now. "Sora, you need to see this," Taemin said when her face appeared on the screen. After watching the recording, Sora was quiet for a long time. Her hands were shaking. "How many dead?" she finally asked. 347, Taemin replied. "Men, women, children. All of them." "I'll contact the Galactic Council," Sora said. "They need to know about this." But when Sora called the council, their response was not what she expected. The council said they would investigate and look into the matter. They asked for patience. They said everyone should stay calm and not do anything that might upset the balance of peace. The hegemony representative, a tall alien with gray skin called High Executor Vorthak, said the attack must have been done by criminals who didn't represent the hegemony government. He offered to pay money to the families of the dead, as if money could bring back murdered children. Taemin felt sick listening to it all. The same aliens who had spent years trying to wipe out humanity were now offering pocket change for a massacre. And the galaxy was nodding along like this was reasonable. But then something else happened. Colonel Jinwoo Kang, who worked in human military intelligence, sent Taemin a secret message. Jinwoo had been digging into reports from other human colonies. What he found was terrible. 3 other human settlements had been attacked in the past month. The attacks all looked like accidents or pirate raids, but Jinwoo found evidence that they were all done by hegemony forces. The Galactic News never reported these attacks. The Council never investigated them. It was as if the galaxy had decided that killing humans didn't matter anymore. "They're testing us," Jinwoo told Taemin during a secret meeting. "They want to see how much they can get away with before we fight back." Dr. Hyojin was getting better in the medical bay, but she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the faces of the children who died. She kept asking Taemin the same question. "What are we going to do about this?" Taemin didn't have a good answer. The politicians on Earth were talking about proper channels and diplomatic solutions, but he had seen the recording. He had seen the bodies. The hegemony wasn't interested in peace. They were interested in seeing how many humans they could kill without consequences. Standing on his bridge again, looking at the stars, Taemin made a decision. He opened a communication channel to all the human ships in his fleet. "This is Admiral Park," he said. "I want every ship to start gathering information about hegemony movements in our sector. I want to know where they go, what they do, who they talk to. The politicians can keep talking about peace if they want, but we're going to be ready for war." His officers looked at him with surprise, but also with relief. Finally, someone was talking sense. The war might be over on paper, but clearly it had never really ended. The hegemony was still killing humans. They were just being more sneaky about it now. As Taemin watched the stars, he wondered how many more colonies would burn before the galaxy decided that human lives mattered too. Minister Dong Hyun Lee hated space stations. They always smelled like recycled air and fear. But Haven's Rest was supposed to be different. It was the neutral meeting place where all the galaxy's problems got solved with words instead of weapons. Today, he wasn't so sure about that. Dong Hyun walked through the station's main corridor with Captain Yoonji Han beside him. Yoonji was young, maybe 25, and she still believed that talking could fix everything. She had been born after the war ended, so she didn't understand why the older humans sometimes got that look in their eyes. The look that said they remembered things too terrible to forget. "Minister, do you really think the hegemony will admit they did this?" Hyunji asked as they headed to the meeting room. "They'll say whatever keeps the peace talks going," Dong Hyun replied. "That's what they always do." The meeting room was big and round with seats for all the different alien races. The Axiom Collective sent creatures that looked like living crystals. The Nebular Commonwealth had representatives that floated in special gas tanks. The Synaptic Union's hive mind spoke through robotic bodies. And then there was High Executor Vorthak from the hegemony, sitting calm and confident like nothing had happened. "Let's begin," said the Axiom speaker, its voice sounding like wind chimes. "We are here to discuss the unfortunate incident at Kepler 442b. Incident. Dong Hyun wanted to laugh, but it wouldn't be diplomatic. 347 people murdered in cold blood was an incident to these aliens. Dong Hyun stood up and activated the holographic display. Dr. Hyejin's recording played for everyone to see. The room watched hegemony soldiers laughing as they killed human families. They watched children die. They watched the systematic execution of innocent people. When the recording ended, the room was quiet. High Executor Vorthak clicked his mandibles, the hegemony equivalent of clearing his throat. "This is very troubling," Vorthak said. "But I must point out that these soldiers were clearly rogue elements, acting without orders from the hegemony government. We cannot be held responsible for the actions of criminals. Criminals wearing official hegemony military armor," Dong Hyun said, "using official hegemony weapons, following official hegemony attack patterns. Stolen equipment," Vorthak replied smoothly. "Pirates often use surplus military gear. The hegemony government offers compensation to the families of the victims, 10,000 credits per person killed." Captain Yoonji gasped. 10,000 credits was what most people made in a year. For a life, it was an insult. But the other aliens were nodding like this was reasonable. The Axiom representative spoke up. "This seems like a fair settlement. The hegemony has acknowledged wrongdoing and offered payment." "They haven't acknowledged anything," Dong Hyun said, his voice rising. "They're calling it a pirate attack and offering money to make it go away." The Nebular Commonwealth's floating representative pulsed with different colors as it spoke. "Minister Lee, we understand human emotion runs high on this matter, but we must think of galactic stability. If we respond to every border incident with accusations and anger, How can we maintain peace? Every border incident. That's what they called the murder of children now. While the politicians talked, Colonel Jinwoo Kang was busy with his real work. He sat in a dark room full of computers, digging through intelligence reports that officially didn't exist. Jinwoo was good at finding things people wanted to hide, and what he found made him sick. The attacks on human colonies weren't random. They followed a pattern. Each target was carefully chosen, places that were far from help, with small populations that wouldn't be missed right away. The attackers knew exactly where to hit to cause the most damage. They knew security codes, patrol schedules, even the names of colony leaders. This wasn't pirates. This was organized warfare disguised as random crime. Jinwoo dug deeper and found something even worse. Inside the hegemony military, there was a secret group called the Purity Sect. They believed the galaxy had made a mistake by letting humans live after the war. Their goal was simple: kill humans slowly until Earth got tired of losing people and gave up their seat on the Galactic Council. The Purity Sect had money, weapons, and support from high-ranking hegemony officials. They also had a list of human colonies marked for cleansing operations. Kepler 442b was just the beginning. Jinwoo sent his findings to Admiral Taemin and Fleet Commander Sora. When Sora read the report, she didn't speak for 10 minutes. She just stared at the screen, remembering her dead family. Meanwhile, Dr. Mi-young Seo was doing something that would change everything. Mi-young was a historian who studied the war and its aftermath. Her parents had survived the hegemony's attack on Mars, but they never talked about it. Like many war survivors, they just wanted to forget and move on. But Mi-young couldn't forget. She had access to classified archives, survivor testimonies, and military records. She also had Jinwoo's intelligence about the Purity Sect. So she did what historians do. She told the truth. Mi-young created a documentary using Dr. Hai-jin's recording, survivor interviews, and evidence of the Purity Sect's existence. She called it "They Never Stopped Killing Us" and broadcast it across all human colonies simultaneously. The reaction was immediate and explosive. On Earth, millions of people marched in the streets demanding action. Colony governors called emergency sessions. Military veterans came out of retirement and volunteered to fight again. The message was clear. Humanity was tired of being murdered while politicians talked about peace. Back on Haven's Rest, the negotiations were falling apart. Dong-hyun kept demanding real investigations and real punishment for the killers. The aliens kept talking about maintaining stability and not escalating tensions. High Executive Vorthak just smiled and repeated his offer of money. Captain Yoonji watched it all with growing disgust. She had believed in the peace process, in the idea that different species could live together without violence. But now she was learning what older humans already knew. Some aliens thought human lives didn't matter. "Captain Han," Dong-hyun said during a break in the talks, "I need you to return to your ship and prepare for departure. I don't think these negotiations are going anywhere." Yoonji nodded, but she felt sick inside. Her ship, the New Dawn, was a diplomatic vessel, not a warship. It had minimal weapons and shields. Her crew was young like her, trained for exploration and first contact missions, not combat. As Yoonji's ship left Haven's Rest, she sent a message back to Earth. "The talks are useless. They don't care that we're being murdered. They only care about keeping things quiet." She was wrong about one thing, though. The Purity Sect did care about the talks. They cared enough to make sure Captain Yoonji Han never made it home to tell her story. The attack came without warning. 3 hegemony ships dropped out of hyperspace around the New Dawn. They didn't try to communicate. They didn't demand surrender. They just started shooting, shields up. "Evasive maneuvers," Yoonji shouted. But her ship was never designed for this kind of fight. The first plasma bolts tore through their weak shields like paper. "Hull breach on Deck 3, called out Engineer Woo Sung. "We're losing atmosphere." "Medical emergency on Deck 2, added Dr. Sung-min. "Multiple casualties." Yoonji watched her friends and crewmates die around her. These weren't soldiers. They were explorers, scientists, diplomats. They had joined the space fleet to discover new worlds and make friends with alien species, not to be hunted down and murdered. The New Dawn barely escaped, but half her crew was dead. As Yoonji piloted the damaged ship toward the nearest human base, she finally understood what the older generation had been trying to tell her. The war never ended. It just got quieter. Her final message to Earth was simple but chilling. They're still killing us. They never stopped killing us, and the galaxy is helping them do it. When Minister Dong Hyun heard about the attack on Captain Yunji's ship, he knew the peace talks were over. High Executor Vorthak called it another pirate attack and offered more money. The other alien races suggested forming a committee to study the problem. But Dong Hyun was done listening to aliens explain why human deaths didn't matter. He packed his bags and prepared to leave Haven's Rest forever. "Where are you going?" asked the Axiom representative. "Home," Dong Hyun said, "to prepare for war." President Narration stood in her office on Earth, looking at reports that made her want to scream. 6 more human colonies had been attacked in the past 3 months. Each time the Galactic Council said they would investigate. Each time the hegemony blamed pirates and offered money. Each time nothing real happened except more humans died. Outside her window, Nari could see protesters filling the streets of New Geneva. They carried signs with pictures of the dead colonists and demanded action. Some signs just said "Remember" in big red letters. Others said "Never again," and showed footage from Dr. Hyejin's recording. "Madam President," said her aide, "General Hyun-Soo Nam is here to see you." Nari looked up, surprised. General Nam was a legend from the war, the man who had saved Earth's orbital defense platforms from complete destruction. But he had retired years ago, saying he was done with fighting. Why was he here now? General Hyun-Soo Nam walked into the office looking older than his 63 years, but his eyes still burned with purpose. He carried a sealed briefcase that probably contained classified material. "Madam President," he said, "we need to talk about the weapons." "What weapons?" Nari asked. "The ones we built during the war but never used," Hyun-Soo replied. "The ones we hid away because we thought peace was more important than victory." Hyun-Soo opened his briefcase and showed Nari blueprints and photographs. What she saw made her blood run cold. Planet-cracking bombs, stellar torpedoes that could make stars explode, virus weapons that could kill entire worlds. Humanity had built weapons of mass destruction that could wipe out solar systems. "We could have won the war in 6 months instead of 6 years," Hyun-Soo said quietly. "But we chose not to use these because we didn't want to become monsters. We wanted to be better than the aliens who were trying to genocide us." "Where are they now?" Nari asked. "Hidden in deep space installations, waiting. My people have been maintaining them all these years, just in case." Hyun-Soo's voice was sad but determined. "I hoped we would never need them. But the hegemony has made their choice clear. They want to finish what they started." At the same time, Admiral Taemin Park was in his ready room reading intelligence reports from Colonel Jin Woo Kang. What he read made him want to launch an immediate attack on every hegemony world in the galaxy. The Purity Sect wasn't just a small terrorist group. They had support from at least 30% of the hegemony government, including several high-ranking military commanders. They also had something worse, a detailed plan called Operation Cleansing Dawn. In 27 days, the Purity Sect would launch simultaneous attacks on every major human world. They would use bioweapons designed specifically to kill humans, while leaving other species unharmed. The attacks would be timed to happen during peak population hours on each world. Billions of people would die in a single day. After that, the surviving humans would be so terrified and broken that they would surrender their place in the galaxy and accept whatever scraps the aliens threw them. Taemin immediately called Fleet Commander Sora Kim. When she saw the intelligence report, her face went white. "How long have you known about this?" she asked. "Jinwoo just confirmed it an hour ago," Taemin replied. "Sora, they're planning to kill everyone. Earth, Mars, the outer colonies, everyone." Sora was quiet for a moment, probably thinking about her dead family. Then her expression hardened into something cold and determined. "Contact President Shin," she said. "It's time to stop pretending this is about peace." While the politicians and military leaders planned, Dr. Hai Jin Choi was working in her new laboratory on Earth. The attack on Kepler 442b had left her with scars and nightmares, but it had also given her purpose. She was now the head of Human Xenobiological Defense, a new department created specifically to study alien weapons and develop countermeasures. What Dr. Hyejin had discovered would change everything. The hegemony's bioweapon targeted specific sequences in human DNA, but it had a weakness. The weapon was designed to spread through the air and infect everyone it touched. But if someone could modify it slightly, it would target hegemony DNA instead. It's like turning a key backwards, she explained to her research team. Instead of unlocking human cells to kill them, we can unlock hegemony cells. Their own weapon becomes our weapon. Her assistant, Dr. Kyungmin Park, looked worried. Doctor, are you sure we should be doing this? Using biological weapons against an entire species. They were going to use it against our entire species, Hyejin replied. I'm just making sure they understand the consequences of that choice. The political situation got worse when Ambassador Chan Ho-yu was murdered. Chan Ho was Earth's chief diplomat, a man who had spent 15 years trying to build bridges between humans and aliens. He believed in peace more than anyone. The assassination happened during a diplomatic reception on the neutral station, Haven's Rest. A hegemony agent walked up to Chan Ho, smiled and injected him with a poison that dissolved his internal organs in minutes. Chan Ho died in agony, while dozens of alien diplomats watched. When the hegemony agent was arrested, he claimed diplomatic immunity. According to galactic law, diplomats couldn't be prosecuted for crimes committed during official functions. The Galactic Council voted to simply send him home with a formal protest. That was the moment many humans realized the galaxy's legal system was designed to protect aliens from humans, not the other way around. Captain Soo-Jin Lim commanded a stealth reconnaissance ship called the Silent Observer. Her job was to spy on alien activities without being detected. What she discovered while watching hegemony, military bases made her sick with fear and rage. The Purity sect wasn't hiding their preparations for Operation Cleansing Dawn. They were openly moving bioweapon containers, testing delivery systems, and training soldiers for planetary invasion. They were so confident that nobody would stop them that they didn't even bother with security. Soo-Jin recorded everything and sent it to Earth. The evidence was overwhelming. The hegemony was preparing for genocide, and they expected the galaxy to let them get away with it, just like they had been letting them get away with murdering individual colonies. President Narration called an emergency meeting of Earth's leadership. In the room were General Hyun-Soo Nam, Admiral Taemin Park, Fleet Commander Sora Kim, Dr. Hee-Jin Choi, and Colonel Jin-Woo Kang. They represented humanity's military, scientific, and intelligence capabilities. The situation is clear, Nari said. The hegemony is planning to commit genocide against our species, and the galaxy is going to let them do it. We have less than 3 weeks to decide how we're going to respond. The answer is obvious, Sora said. We stop them. How? Asked Nari. If we attack first, the entire galaxy will unite against us. They'll say we're the aggressors. General Hyun-Soo spoke up. Madam President, with respect, they're already united against us. They've been letting the hegemony murder our people for months without doing anything about it. They don't care if we live or die. They only care about maintaining their comfortable system. Dr. Hyejin added, I can have the modified bioweapon ready in 2 weeks. If they want to use biology as a weapon, we can show them what happens when humans get serious about warfare. The room was quiet, as everyone considered what they were really talking about. This wasn't about defending a few colonies anymore. This was about the survival of the human species, and whether they would die quietly or make the galaxy regret ever threatening them. Colonel Jin-Woo spread out star charts, showing hegemony worlds and military bases. If we're going to do this, we need to hit them everywhere at once. No half measures, no warnings, no mercy. They want to wipe us out in a single day? We do the same to them. President Nari looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. These were good people who had tried to believe in peace. They had offered friendship to aliens who spat in their faces. They had forgiven crimes that should never be forgiven. They had trusted in a system that saw them as expendable. But now they were done being good. The Galactic Council is meeting tomorrow, Nari said. They're going to vote on whether to formally investigate Ambassador Chan Ho's murder or just send a strongly worded letter to the hegemony. What do you think they'll choose? Asked Taemin. The letter, Nari replied. They always choose the letter, and when that happened, humanity would have its answer about where the galaxy really stood. The time for peace would be officially over. Admiral Taemin Park stood on the bridge of his flagship as the human fleet emerged from hyperspace. This wasn't the same desperate defense force from the First War. This was something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. Every ship was equipped with weapons that had been hidden for 15 years. Waiting for this moment, Operation Last Testament had begun. "All ships report ready," said Commander J1 at the communications station. Around them, hundreds of human warships moved into position. They had names like Never Forget, Price of Peace, and Final Warning. These weren't just ships. They were statements. Taman opened a channel to address his fleet. "Today, we end the lie that was called peace. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you mistake human mercy for human weakness. No prisoners, no mercy, no forgiveness." Light years away, Colonel Yoon Seo-bae led the Ghost Division, humanity's most secret military unit. Her ships could become invisible to most sensors and move through space like deadly shadows. For months, they had been positioning themselves behind enemy lines, waiting for this moment. "Ghost leader to all units," Yoon Seo said into her communicator. "Begin Phase 1, target all purity sect installations. Use the modified bioweapon. Show them what their own medicine tastes like." The ghost ships struck without warning. They appeared behind hegemony battle groups like death itself, launching Dr. Hyejin's modified bioweapon at military bases and government facilities. The weapon that was supposed to kill humans instead became a nightmare for the hegemony. Within hours, every major purity sect installation was either destroyed or filled with dying aliens. The bioweapon worked exactly as Dr. Hyejin had promised. It turned the hegemony's own cruelty back on them with interest. On the Axiom homeworld, the crystal beings were holding an emergency council meeting. Their leader, a being called Prime Resonance, was trying to understand what was happening. "The humans have declared war?" asked one council member. "No," replied Prime Resonance. "They haven't declared anything. They're just killing hegemony forces wherever they find them. No demands, no negotiations, no communications at all." This was what scared the aliens the most. For 15 years, humans had talked, negotiated, and compromised. They had followed galactic law and respected alien customs. But now they were silent, and their silence was more terrifying than any threat. Fleet Commander So-Ra Kim sat in her command center on Earth, watching reports come in from across the galaxy. Human forces were winning everywhere. The hegemony had expected to fight the same defensive humans from the First War, but this was a completely different enemy. "Ma'am," said Intelligence Officer Daeho, "the hegemony is requesting a ceasefire. They want to negotiate." "After we finish Operation Last Testament," So-Ra replied without looking up from her displays. "Right now they're learning what 15 years of human anger looks like." The hegemony's capital world was protected by the largest military base in their empire. It should have been impossible to attack, but General Hyun-Soo Nam had a surprise for them. The general activated humanity's secret weapon, the Stellar Forge. It was a device that could turn gas giants into stars or collapse them into black holes. Nam didn't use it to destroy the hegemony homeworld immediately. Instead, he positioned it where everyone could see it, like a sword hanging over their heads. "This is General Nam of the Human Federation," he broadcast to the entire hegemony fleet. "You have 30 minutes to surrender, or I turn your sun into a black hole. Your choice." The hegemony fleet surrendered in 20 minutes. Captain Yoon Ji-han, now promoted to admiral, led the assault on the hegemony's outer colonies. These were the worlds that had cheered when human colonies were attacked. These were the places where aliens had celebrated each human death. Yoonji's ships arrived in orbit around these worlds and delivered a simple message. "You had 15 years to choose justice. You chose to watch us die. Now face the consequences." The bombardment was precise and devastating. Military bases, government buildings, and industrial centers were turned to ash. But Yoonji made sure to leave hospitals, schools, and civilian shelters untouched. Humans weren't monsters like the hegemony. They didn't kill for pleasure, but they would kill for justice. Dr. Hyejin. Choi watched the war reports from her laboratory on Earth. Her modified bioweapon was working better than she had hoped. Hegemony military leaders were dying by the thousands, their own weapon turned against them. But she felt no satisfaction, only a cold sense of completion. "Doctor," said her assistant, "the Nebular Commonwealth is requesting samples of the antidote. They want to help hegemony civilians who might be exposed." "Tell them there is no antidote," Hyejin replied, just like there was no antidote for the weapon they were going to use on human children. The war reached its climax when the hegemony activated their ultimate weapon, a device that, could destroy entire planets from across the galaxy. They aimed it at Earth, hoping to break human morale by killing their homeworld. But Dr. Mi Young Seo and engineer Woo Jin Cha had been expecting this. Working together, they managed to hack into the weapon's targeting system and redirect it. Instead of hitting Earth, the planet killer struck the hegemony homeworld itself. High Executor Vorthak's final transmission was broadcast across the galaxy. "We surrender. Please, we beg for mercy. Stop this madness!" Admiral Taman Park's response was cold and final. "You should have begged 15 years ago. When you were murdering our children, where was your mercy then?" The war lasted exactly 3 months. By the end, the hegemony existed only as scattered refugees begging other species for protection. Their military was destroyed, their government was gone, and their homeworld was a burned wasteland. But humanity wasn't finished yet. The other alien species tried to return to the old system. They offered reparations, trade deals, and apologies. They wanted to go back to the way things were before, when they could ignore human deaths and focus on their own comfort. President Narration had a different idea. She called a meeting of the Galactic Council, but this time it was held on Earth, in the ruins of the memorial to the First War's victims. Representatives from every species came, hoping to negotiate a return to peace. "The age of your peace is over," Nari told them. "For 15 years you watched us die and did nothing. You let monsters murder our families because it was easier than standing up for what was right. You chose comfort over justice, stability over morality." The Axiom representative tried to speak. "President Shin, surely we can find a reasonable solution." "The reasonable solution was to stop the hegemony when they started killing us," Nari interrupted. "You didn't want reasonable then. You wanted quiet. Well, congratulations, it's quiet now. The hegemony is gone." She gestured to Admiral Sora Kim, who stepped forward with humanity's terms. They weren't negotiable. The hegemony would be dissolved completely. Their former worlds would become human protectorates. Any species that had supported the Purity sect would pay reparations for 50 years. And most importantly, humanity would now patrol the galaxy to make sure nothing like this ever happened again. "You want peace?" Nari asked the assembled aliens. "This is what human peace looks like. We protect the innocent and punish the guilty. We don't ignore crimes because they're inconvenient." The aliens had no choice but to agree. The human fleet was the largest in the galaxy now, armed with weapons that could crack planets and collapse stars. More importantly, the humans had proven they would use those weapons when pushed too far. As the alien delegates left Earth, many of them wondered if they had made a terrible mistake 15 years ago. Back then, they had forced humanity to accept peace when humans wanted justice. They thought they were preventing a genocide. Instead, they had just delayed it. Now humanity was the dominant power in the galaxy, and they ruled with the cold efficiency of people who had learned that mercy without strength was just another word for weakness. The galaxy had peace, but it was humanity's peace now, and it would be kept by humanity's rules. 5 years had passed since the end of the Second War, though most humans called it the final war now. Admiral Sora Kim, now Supreme Fleet Commander of all human military forces, stood in her office on the former hegemony homeworld, looking at reports that would have seemed impossible a decade ago. Crime in human space was at an all-time low. Trade was booming. Scientific research was advancing faster than ever before. Most importantly, no human colony had been attacked by aliens since the day the hegemony surrendered. "Ma'am," said her aide, Captain Minsu, "the monthly security briefing is ready." Sora nodded and took the report. It showed the positions of human patrol fleets throughout the galaxy. Every major shipping lane, every border world, every strategic location now had human ships watching and waiting. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about what happened when humans were threatened. On the bridge of the exploration ship New Harmony, Captain Yunji Han was returning from a mission to the Outer Rim. Her ship was no longer a diplomatic vessel. It was a heavy cruiser armed with the latest human weapons. Yunji herself was no longer the young idealist who had believed in peace through talking. She had learned that real peace came from being strong enough to protect it. "Captain," said her navigator, "Lieutenant Subin, we're receiving a distress call from the Axiom mining station at Kepler 186F. Yunji sat up in her command chair. "Axiom? What kind of distress?" "They're reporting pirate attacks, ma'am. 3 ships of unknown origin are raiding their mineral shipments. Yunji smiled grimly. Set course for Kepler 186F maximum speed, and send a message to the pirates. Tell them they have exactly 1 chance to surrender before we arrive. This was the new reality of galactic law enforcement. When anyone had a problem, they called the humans. Not because the humans were beloved, many aliens still feared and resented them, but because human ships always arrived on time, always solved the problem, and never asked for anything except that the peace be maintained. Dr. Hyejin Choi, now Minister of Xenological Affairs, was working in her office in New Geneva when she received an interesting visitor. Ambassador Telmac of the Nebular Commonwealth floated into her office in his environmental suit, his gaseous body swirling nervously. Minister Choi, Telmac said, "My government wishes to formally apologize for our actions during the Kepler 442b incident." Hyejin looked up from her work. Telmac's people had been one of the voices calling for patience and diplomatic solutions, while human colonists were being murdered. Now they were apologizing because they needed human protection from raiders attacking their trade convoys. "Your apology is noted," Hyejin said simply. "What do you need?" "Pirates have been attacking our shipping in the Vega sector. Our own security forces are insufficient to deal with the problem." "I'll have Admiral Park dispatch a patrol squadron," Hyejin replied. "The standard protection fee is 100,000 credits per ship, plus fuel costs." Telmac's colors shifted to show distress. "That's quite expensive." "Not as expensive as losing your ships to pirates," Hyejin pointed out. "And much less expensive than building a military force capable of protecting them yourself." This was another aspect of humanity's new order. Protection wasn't free, but it was guaranteed. Pay the fee, follow human law, and your ships would be safe. Try to handle security yourself, and you might discover that pirates were the least of your problems. On the former hegemony world of Proxima 7, now renamed New Hope, Dr. Mi-young Seo was overseeing the integration of alien refugees into human society. The process was working better than anyone had expected. Many of the former hegemony civilians had been horrified when they learned about the Purity sect's plans. They genuinely hadn't known that their government was planning genocide. When human forces arrived, these aliens welcomed them as liberators rather than conquerors. "Dr. Seo," said Colony Administrator Lee Sang-ho, "the quarterly reports are in. Productivity is up 18%, crime is down 40%, and satisfaction surveys show that 85% of residents approve of human governance." Mi-young wasn't surprised. Human colonial administration was efficient, fair, and transparent. Unlike the old hegemony system, humans didn't play favorites based on species or wealth. Everyone was equal under human law and everyone was protected by human ships. "Any problems?" Mi-young asked. "A few protests from the hegemony restoration movement," Sang-ho replied. "They want the old government back." "How many protesters?" "About 30 last count. They mostly just stand around with signs complaining about human occupation." Mi-young laughed. "Let them protest. Free speech is a human right and we extend it to everyone under our protection. Just make sure they understand that if they try anything more than peaceful protest, they'll discover why human justice is so effective." The real test of human dominance came when the Axiom Collective tried to form a new alliance against humanity. They were tired of paying protection fees and following human rules. They wanted to return to the old system, where they could make decisions based on their own interests rather than galactic justice. Admiral Tae-min Park, now commanding the largest battle fleet in human history, received the news while patrolling near the Axiom homeworld. "They're calling it the Independence Coalition," reported his intelligence officer. "The Axiom plus some of the smaller species that think humans have too much power." "How many ships do they have?" Taemin asked. "Maybe 300, sir. Mixed classes, mostly older designs." Taemin looked at the tactical display showing his own fleet. 800 ships, all equipped with the latest weapons technology, all crewed by veterans who remembered what happened when aliens threatened human lives. "Open a channel to the Axiom homeworld," he ordered. The crystal being that appeared on his screen was clearly nervous. "Admiral Park, we can discuss this situation diplomatically." "No," Taemin interrupted. "Diplomacy is what got us into this mess 15 years ago. You have 1 hour to disband your coalition and return to your homeworld. After that, I'm going to show you why challenging humanity is a bad idea." The coalition disbanded in 45 minutes. President Narration now in her second term, was giving her annual State of the Galaxy address from the steps of the Human Memorial on Earth. The memorial had been expanded to include the names of everyone who died in the colonial massacres, including the children of Kepler 442b. 5 years ago, this galaxy learned an important lesson, she said to the assembled crowd and the billions watching across human space. Justice delayed is not justice denied. It's justice with interest. We gave the galaxy 15 years to do the right thing. When they failed, we did it ourselves. The crowd cheered, but Nari's expression remained serious. Some people think we're too harsh now. Some aliens complain that humans have too much power, that we're too quick to use force, that we don't trust enough in diplomatic solutions. She gestured to the memorial behind her, where the names of murdered colonists were carved in black stone. To those people I say this: we tried trust. We tried diplomacy. We tried being reasonable and patient and forgiving. And while we were being good galactic citizens, our people were being hunted down and slaughtered like animals. The crowd was quiet now, remembering. So yes, we are harsh. Yes, we have too much power. Yes, we use force quickly when threatened, because we learned that the alternative is watching our children die while politicians make speeches about the importance of not escalating tensions. In the far reaches of the galaxy, Captain Sujin Lim was commanding a deep space patrol mission when her sensors detected something impossible. A small fleet of unknown ships was approaching from outside the galaxy, true aliens, not any of the known species. "Captain," said her science officer, "they're trying to communicate. Universal Translator is having trouble, but I think they're asking for permission to enter our space." Sujin thought about the old days, when humanity would have welcomed new aliens with open arms and offers of friendship. Those days were gone. Now first contact was a military matter. "Escort them to Quarantine Station Alpha 7, she ordered. "Full security protocols. And send a message to Earth. Let them know we have visitors." The message that went out across human space was simple. Unknown aliens have been detected at the galactic border. They are being processed according to standard first contact procedures. Citizens should continue normal activities. What the message didn't say was that standard first contact procedures now included keeping the new aliens under guard until humanity could be absolutely certain they weren't a threat. The galaxy had taught humans to be suspicious of alien motives, and that lesson had been learned well. As the years passed, a new generation of humans grew up in this galaxy, where human ships patrolled every sector, and human law governed interstellar trade. They took it for granted that aliens asked permission before entering human space, that piracy was almost extinct, and that diplomatic disputes were settled quickly and fairly. These young humans sometimes asked their elders why the older generation seemed so angry all the time. Why did they insist on such a large military? Why were they so suspicious of alien intentions? Why couldn't everyone just get along? The answer was always the same: because we remember. In the city that had been built on the ruins of the hegemony homeworld, now called New Geneva, there was a simple,